with news from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the Kyssfm SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, 22nd February 2018. I am Javon Liebert, and these are your top stories. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party chastises government's effort to change constitution. Internationally, Ethiopia says state of emergency will last 6 months. And in sport, West Indies to play T20 series in Texas. We'll also have a look at today's updated weather forecast and Carib update. Now for a look at the news in detail. In a statement to the people, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party chastised the government led by Prime Minister Timothy Harris and their efforts to change the constitution, specifically to impose term limits on the role of Prime Minister. The bill saw its first reading in the House yesterday. Accordingly, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party in their statement, which was released yesterday, February 21st, stated that Dr. Harris and his government does not have the ability to change the constitution willy-nilly, as they must receive support of 2/3 of all representatives in the local parliament. An excerpt from the release reads, Dr. Timothy Harris knows that he does not and cannot command the necessary support to change the iota of the constitution of our beloved country. He and his government cannot and will not on their own determine the length of the term of service of any elected representative or any other constitutional provision for that matter. The Labour Party alleged that the Prime Minister's intention is to utilize the House of Parliament as a political tool to further his agenda of deception and to confuse and exploit the public for his personal and political gain. The party further noted that they will not only participate in any effort of constitutional reform if there is a constitutional reform commission properly established for that purpose. There is a proper representation of all bona fide political parties on such a constitutional reform commission, and that the constitutional reform process is geared towards looking more broadly and holistically at improving the systems of democratic governance of our federation. Meanwhile, regional stakeholders craft new strategies on drug abuse prevention. Delegates from several CARIFORUM member states, the Organization of American States, and the European Union are in St. Kitts to brainstorm and formulate strategies on drug abuse and its prevention that will be implemented in countries across the Caribbean region. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Osman Petty, welcomed the participants during an opening ceremony on Wednesday and noted that this is the second of a two-part workshop that began last Monday. The first part was held on February 19th and 20th and was dubbed the CARICOM Regional Drug Demand Reduction Strategy Workshop. This was followed by Wednesday's OAS Regional National Drug Strategy Workshop, which ends on Thursday. Both meetings were held at the Ocean Terrace Inn. Mr. Petty highlighted the challenges posed by the illegal use of marijuana and the trafficking of narcotics and said the leadership in the local Ministry of National Security was looking forward to receiving suggestions and a plan to address the myriad issues that St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean region face from the challenges of drugs. Beverly Reynolds of the CARICOM Secretariat also welcomed the dialogue and added that it was important to update current strategies in the Caribbean and to support their design and development. She encouraged participants to think outside the box in coming up with the solutions and to bear in mind the value of inclusiveness and collaboration in developing effective strategies and their implementation. Vice Chairman of the National Drug Council, Dennis Michael Morton, saluted the regional directors and decision makers for their commitment in the fight against drugs, which contributes to the overall safety, security, and well-being of the respective people and nations. Mr. Morton added that our citizens deserve a society that is not controlled by drug use, abuse, trafficking, violence, and crime. The Vice Chairman thanked the CARICOM Secretariat, EU, and OAS for contributing to the workshop. International. A state of emergency imposed in Ethiopia a day after the Prime Minister resigned will last for 6 months, the Defense Minister said on Saturday, as authorities sought to tamp down unrest in Africa's second most populous nation. Outbreaks of violence had continued in parts of the country, and the government was banning protests along with the preparation and dissemination of publications. The government has previously made several efforts to curtail violence, but lives have continued to be lost. Many have been displaced and economic infrastructure has been damaged. Prime Minister Mr. Desalegn announced his surprise resignation in a television speech on Thursday, the first time in modern Ethiopian history that a sitting prime minister had quit. A day later, the government imposed the state of emergency. Ethiopia is East Africa's biggest and fastest growing economy and a Western ally in the fight against Islamist militancy. In sport, the West Indies cricket team are set to play a 2020 international in the city of Houston, Texas for the first time. The series schedule for August had been finalized following discussions between the Pakistan Cricket Board chairman Najem Sethi and Cricket West Indies president Dave Cameron on the sidelines of the recent International Cricket Council. The series will also see matches also played in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is a reciprocal tour that follows from the highly anticipated three-match tour carried from March-April, when Pakistan is expected to host the Caribbean side. So far, every T20 international played on United States soil has been staged at the Central Broward Regional Park Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, with the most recent action being a two-match series between the Windies and India 2 years ago. The proposal for a match to be hosted in the southern United States represents a further incursion into the lucrative North American market. Only last year, the PCB had announced a 5-year agreement that would have seen the Windies tour Pakistan annually for a 3-match T20 series. Meanwhile, the PCB have finalized the dates for the upcoming Windies tour, with matches scheduled for March 29th and 31st and April 1st. The PCB is hoping to have international tours of Pakistan resume following an 8-year break after the Sri Lanka team bus was attacked by militants on its way to the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore back in 2009. Following a 3-match Independence Cup series involving a World Series last September in Lahore, the ICC praised Pakistan for its handling of security, noting that the success of the event sent a positive message to the international community about safety in the country. And for weather, in today's weather forecast, fresh to strong winds will keep seas hazardous across the region, resulting in a negative impact on marine activities. The winds will also be a source of disruptions at times and cause the atmosphere to be weakly unsettled, resulting in variably cloudy skies and brief showers. Showers will be more evident across the Windward Islands, Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago due to the proximity of an upper-level low-pressure system. Therefore, skies over St. Kitts and Nevis today will be cloudy with brief showers, while tonight we'll see a 70% chance or a high chance of brief showers. East-northeast winds will blow east-northeast at 17 to 25 miles per hour, occasionally higher in some places and gusting to near 35 miles per hour at times. The winds will start to decline later today. Seas are moderate to rough with significant wave height of 2.5 to 3.5 meters or 8 to 12 feet, occasionally reaching 4 to 5 meters, 4.5 meters or 15 feet. Small craft operators should stay in port, and beachgoers should avoid the waters on the northern side of the islands and exercise caution elsewhere. The sea level pressure is 1020.3 mbs or 30.14. The sun will set today at 6:16 p.m. That item brings us to the end of the Kyssfm SKN News Now Morning Edition. Now for a recap of this morning's top stories. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party chastises government's efforts to change constitution. Internationally, Ethiopia says state of emergency will last 6 months. And in sport, West Indies to play T20 series in Texas. Thanks for tuning in for another SKN News Now presentation. I've been your presenter, Javan Liebert. Stay tuned, Carry the Update is next.